facilities to ensure a seamless experience, and also a balance between academic activities and non-academic activities. Indonesian International Islamic University will always support the positive development and freedom of each individual, especially those related to physical, mental, and spiritual development.
One among the reasons to establish this university is how to introduce Indonesia to the world. Indonesia is a very rich country in terms of cultural diversity, religious diversity, and also experiences in developing democracy hand in hand with the Islamic development. Instead of sending study abroad to many foreign countries, now we invite students, lecturers, intellectuals come to Indonesia, and this university become an intellectual hub, and I'm sure within a short time Indonesia will get global recognition since we have qualified lecturers, qualified students, and we have a clear plan how to make this university getting international standard.
At UIII, we will learn more, gain more, and give even more as we believe. Lesson shapes souls. Come and join us to shape the souls and create the future. Welcome to Indonesian International Islamic University. A university that stands together in a diversity of cultures, languages, history, and also the beliefs inherent in the identity of Indonesia as a multicultural archipelagic country. Indonesian International Islamic University is the first international Islamic university in Indonesia that not only explores Islamic studies, but also introduces to the world an advanced Islamic civilization in Indonesia that is able to make a positive contribution through discovery, research, and global achievement.
You need high quality of international education right here in Indonesia. The place is at the Indonesian International Islamic University, or we call it UIII. UIII has 4 faculties. One of them is the Faculty of Education. The Faculty of Education offers MA and PhD in education with 4 concentrations. First, curriculum teaching and learning. Second, educational assessment and evaluation. Third, education policy management and leadership. And 4, education and society. The 4 concentrations are designed to represent the ecological system, namely those that focus on the micro context, represented by the concentration of curriculum, teaching and learning, the meso context, represented by the concentration of educational assessment and evaluation, and the concentration of education, policy, management and leadership, while the concentration of education and society represent the context of a larger meso layer, linking it with the macro lenses of economics, politics, anthropology, and sociology of education.
And here, we are at the Faculty of Education, one of the faculty at UIII designed to produce high-quality transformative educators with a passion for lifelong learning. Our dedication to excellence and innovation sets us apart from the rest, and we are proud to be leading the way toward a brighter future for education.
The UIII Faculty of Education offers a Master of Arts in Education program that prepares graduates for careers as academics, practitioners, designers, researchers.
Low mic test. Okay. We are requesting everyone to please sit in front as we will start our program in a minute. Thank you.
the certificate I will give to Ilham and then to Butati.
At the same time.
At the same time. Yeah.
Yeah, that will be here. After the review. Yeah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. A very warm greetings to each and every one of you here.
To the Honorable, the Dean of Faculty of Education, Professor Nina Nurmila. To the Honorable, the Head of Doctoral Program in Education, Bambang Sumintono, PhD. To the Honorable, the Head of Master Program in Education, Dr. Tati Diwardi. To our distinguished guest speakers, esteemed faculty members, and all of the students.
Welcome to the second graduate forum in collaboration with American Institute for Indonesian Studies with the theme Researching and Publishing, keeping productive beyond your graduate studies.
I am Syra Milior Mangulamas from the Philippines, an MA student, batch 3.
And I am Karamo Sise from the Gambia, MA student by 3.
And we are honored to be your Master of Ceremony for this special occasion.
Let's start our first program, Agenda Inauguration Ceremony of Studia Period 2024-2025. Okay.
Can we call on?
Yeah, we please welcome the outgoing president, Ilham Zamzori, to give a speech. Thank you.
Jik. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. How are you today? Thank you. I would like to appreciate for the Master of Ceremony for giving me this opportunity. To short the time, let me read what I have prepared. But first, let me address properly all the lectures in front of me. The Excellencies, the Dean of Faculty of Education, Professor Nina Nurmila, the Head of Doctoral Programs, Dr. Bambang Sumintana, the Head of Master Programs, Dr. Tati, Associate Professor, Dr. Charina, Bu Destina, and all the participants of the Second Graduate Forum and Colloquiums, Faculty of Education 2024. Thank you. First, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to all the previous Studias team. Guys, thank you for all your dedication. I'm really honored to have such wonderful experiences, dedicating my time with all of you in Studia. We didn't really create much things due to several time constraints, but at least we have put the basic foundation. Let the rest, the next batches strengthen the Studia. Secondly, I would like to express my sincere apology for all the mistakes, intentionally and unintentionally, during my previous leadership. Studia, Education Student Association, the term of Studia was founded by Andi Ibrahim Ali, was founded by Mas Andi. Unfortunately, he couldn't be here for now. Meaning that to study, to acquire the knowledge, to educate oneself. It means that all the members of Studia should not stop learning, be long life learner for the better improvement of the education in the future, mostly in Faculty of Education, IIIU. I hope you guys could be a better generation. Last night, after helping the committee finalize the schedule, I have a talk with Dr. Bambang. He emphasized that scholarship students must dedicate themselves for the development of knowledge, pay back to the people because we owe the people, the Indonesian society. Lastly, all the best for the second graduate forum colloquium, FOE 2024. God bless. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you so much, Mr. President, for that speech. We now welcome the Dean of Faculty of Education, Prof. Nina Nuina, to offer certificate.
Appreciation for the dedication of Irham Zamzuri, I would like to give the certificate of appreciation. Okay. For Irham. Thank you, Irham. Okay.
The next is the giving of certificate to the best lecturer, year 2024.
Okay, in this occasion, I also would like to give the certificate for Dr. Tati Diwardi for being the best lecturer this year. Thank you.
Congratulations, Ibu Tati. Next, we witnessed the calling of the new executive of Studia by Professor Nina.
Thank you very much, Karamo. And thank you again to Irham Zamzuri for your leadership in Studia Batch 2, 2023-2024. I would like to inaugurate the new leadership of Studia Batch 3, 2023-2024. And I hereby officially confirm and inaugurate the following individuals of the Studia Batch 3, 2024-2025 leadership members. First, I call the President, Andi Ilham. The Vice President is not here, Siraju Husseini Barantota. The Secretary, Ulfia Buruah and Farhatul Kabila. The Treasurers, Muhammad Devi Asidiki and Nafisa. Division of Academic and Research, Head of Division, Belo Ridwan Alaba, and Release Members, Debbie Zalina, Fitri Amalia, Bin Salsadila. Division of Student Affairs, the Head of Division, Ahmad F. Jalal, with Release Members, Insom Waiji, Muhammad Maulana, and Juliana. Division of Media and Publication, Head of Division, Nabila Nidya Alifia Putri. Her members, Nasrullah, Santi Ganeswari, Intan Fasha Zahara. Division of Social and Public Relations, Head of Division, Erickson Vito Samson. His members, Fadila Novia Rahman, Sairah Milor Mamulamas, Nizar Hayat, and Rakim Legawan Sami. I would like to invite Andi Ilham as the new president of Estudia Batchri to come to the stage and deliver his speech. But before that, I would like to give the Dean's decree of his appointment with all the members, the decree number 39 of 2024.
Congratulations, Andi, with your executive. All right. Please, can you assume your seats? Congratulations once again. We now invite Andi Ilham, the president, to give a speech.
All right. Thank you very much, the presenter. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning all. The Excellency Prof. Nina as the Deans, the Excellency all of the lecturers. First of all, I would like to say really thank you. Thank you deeply to the Dean who has given us the trust to run this educational student organization. And also, I would like to thank Mr. Irham as the previous administrator who has bridged us in the management of this organization. And of course, we hope for guidance for all the esteemed lecturer for the future. And then I remember that khairun nas anfa'uhum linnas. The best human being is the one who is most beneficial to the others. That is our motto in running these organizations. We believe that all goodness we can provide is a form of our dedication to being useful for others, for human beings. To the new education teams, my teams, we are all same, equally important. No one is more important than others. Like a machine, it won't be able to run perfectly even if it's just missing a single part. A single part. So, the last, for all the tiredness that will be faced, hopefully God will reward all the goodness and sincerity of all my friends. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Mr. President. Can we give him a round of applause? And that brings us to the end of the inauguration ceremony. We say once again congratulations to Andi and the team, and we wish you good luck in office. Thank you. hereby welcome our two distinguished keynote speakers, Dr. Nelivan Lonhada, Dr. Lena Lassi. We hereby welcome our two distinguished keynote speakers, Professor Dr. Nelivan Lonhada and Dr. Lena Lassi, for this momentous occasion. Can we give them a round of applause? Professor Dr. Nelly Van Hada and Dr. Lena Latin, you are welcome to reply. Once again, can we give them a round of applause? Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. A very warm greetings to each and every one of you present today.
To the Honorable, the Dean of Faculty of Education, Professor Nina Normila. To the Honorable, the Head of Doctoral Program in Education, Bambang Sumintono, PhD. To the Honorable, the Head of Master Program in Education, Dr. Tati Diwardi. To our distinguished guest speakers, esteemed faculty members, and all of the students.
Welcome to the second graduate forum in collaboration with American Institute for Indonesian Studies with the theme Researching and Publishing, keeping productive beyond your graduate studies.
I am Syra Milior Mangulamas from the Philippines, an MA student, batch 3.
And I am Karamo Sise from the Gambia, MA student by 3.
And we are honored to be your Master of Ceremony for this special occasion.
Let's start our second agenda with the singing of Indonesian national anthem and Triple Ayumai. Can we all rise up to the singing of Indonesian national anthem? Thank you. You can assume your seat. Thank you. We will now invite the head of doctoral program, Faculty of Education, UIII, Bambang Sumintano, PhD, to give the opening statement. Thank you.
Thank you, Karamo. Right. Okay, Assalamualaikum. Very good morning to you all, distinguished guests and then fellow lecturers. So I'm very happy to be here, and it is our event, but all are organized by Estudia, our student association, and we are very glad that all the students are coming and then present the paper. And then for this morning session, we have two distinguished guests from two continents, right? So we'll share about research and publication alongside with Dr. Nina. Prof. Nina will share about, that research and publication is not as easy as thing. So we know that you just don't stop based on the requirement that what you call a stated for completing your study here, right? So I'm very happy to be here, and then I would like to say thank you very much for all of you for the cooperation and your dedication to make that this opportunity and then this event are success. We have 2 days activities, so starting from today with two distinguished guest speaker, and then two distinguished keynote speaker, and then follow with the series of parallel session. Right. With that, thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Pa. Next, we're going to welcome Bello Ridwan Alaba to lead us in prayer. Bello, you're welcome.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. All protocols are well and duly observed. Inshallah, I'm going to take us through a short prayer. Inshallah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. والصلاة والسلام على محمد نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. ربنا لا تؤاخذنا إن نسينا أو أخطأنا. ربنا ولا تحمل علينا إصرا كما حملته على الذين من قبلنا. ربنا ولا تحملنا ما لا طاقة لنا به واعف عنا واغفر لنا وارحمنا أنت مولانا فانصرنا على القوم الكافرين. ربنا إننا آمنا فاغفر لنا ذنوبنا وقنا عذاب النار. ربنا اغفر لنا ذنوبنا وإسرافنا في أمرنا وثبت أقدامنا وانصرنا على القوم الكافرين. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار اللهم إنا نسألك الهدى والتقى والعفاف والغنى اللهم اغفر لنا ذنوبنا ووسع لنا في دارنا وبارك لنا فيما رزقتنا اللهم انفعنا بما علمتنا وعلمنا ما ينفعنا وزدنا علما اللهم إنا نعوذ بك من جهد البلاء ودرك الشقاء وسوء القضاء وشماتة الأعداء اللهم إنا نعوذ بك من يوم السوء ومن ليلة السوء ومن ساعة السوء ومن صاحب السوء ومن جار السوء في دار المقامة. O Allah, we ask you to bless this event for us. Ya Allah, we seek for your protection and guidance of all our actions and inactions. O Allah, protect and bless the entire UIII community. Ya Allah, reward and bless all our teachers. Ya Allah, grant all students beneficial knowledge and bless all our efforts. Ya Hayyu Ya Qayyum, Ya Arhamar Rahimin, Ya Rabbal Alamin. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun.
Thank you, Bello Ridwan, for the prayers. Amen.
Today, we gathered to celebrate the hard work, dedication, and achievements of our students. This forum is a testament to the remarkable journey each one of you has undertaken and bright futures that lie ahead.
Today's forum will feature insightful presentations, inspiring speeches, and celebration of academic excellence. It is an opportunity for us to reflect on our experience, share our knowledge, and look forward to the future.
To kick off our event, we are privileged to have with us our distinguished keynote speakers.
All right, we would like to call on the Dean of Faculty of Education, Professor Nina Rumila, to moderate the session. We welcome on stage Dr. Kalinawan and then Dr. Lasu, Lena Lasu. Welcome on stage. Thank you, Prof. Nina.
Very much. Never got the Yes. Okay, I will do that in the middle. Anywhere I can in the middle. Yes. Okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I'm very happy today that our best friends, best scholars, is coming here to our campus far away from America and then from Norway, yeah. So we are very lucky to have them today. Oh, thank you. But that's wonderful fruit. As you might see in the flyers that our keynote speakers are Professor Dr. Nelly van Don Harder and Dr. Lina Larsen. I'm just squeezed in the middle of them. And let me introduce briefly Professor Dr. Nelly van Don Harder. She is a professor of religious studies at Wake Forest University, North Carolina. So I'm very lucky that in February 2023, she invited me to spend 2 weeks in her university, and she looked after me very well. Thank you very much, Nelly, for the opportunity. So I would like to tell you about her education. As you might see from her name, she comes from Netherlands, and she spends all her education also in the Netherlands. So she has 2 BA, one in theology and another one in the Middle Eastern studies. The first one from the University of Utrecht, she graduated in 1978. Imagine, 1978, I was still in primary school. But she looks charming and young, forever young for the scholars. And then her second BA is in theology from University of Amsterdam in 1986. And then her MA from Middle Eastern Studies, University of Amsterdam too, in 1982. So the second BA is after her master. And her PhD is from Free University of Amsterdam in Religious Studies in 1993. He has many publications, and one I just want to mention because the book, Women Shaping Islam, Indonesian Muslim Women Reading the Quran, has been translated into Indonesian language by me, and then will be published this year by Kompas, hopefully, yeah. So, and actually, I feel like I'm very close with two of them. We spent a holiday together in 2018 in Garut, and we were swimming together. So they like swimming as much as I do also. And at last year, Professor Nelly van der Harder also wrote a book chapter with me for Cambridge University Press, organized, or the editor was Professor Masuda Bano. And at the moment, Professor Nelly van der Harder also is writing an article about KUPI, Indonesian Ulama Congress in Indonesia, together also with me, to be published in one of the African journals, yeah, in South Africa. So I will introduce Lena later after Nelly, but I would like to give the forum to Professor Nelly van der Harder. Time is yours, as much as you like. Thank you.
Yes, do you have the PowerPoint?
Yes, please, the PowerPoint.
And can I stand?
Yes, you can stand over there or you can walk around. Yes, I think this one is on.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for being here. It's very exciting. And thank you for asking me to think about this topic. Because as you heard, I have been in this field for a while. And I do know that you see the title, How to Develop a Scholarly Career. Scholarly is between brackets. Because many of us follow different paths. We do not all start as scholars. I actually never thought I would be a scholar. I never thought I would be a professor. I never planned to be a professor at all. But then I realized that I was very interested in certain things and that I wanted to write about them. And that is how it started, that I turned to becoming a professor. That's why I have, thank you. Let's see which way, we'll see. That's why I have an MA after getting, or a BA after getting an MA, simply because I realized that I was missing some of the information I needed to continue for a PhD. And so the second BA I did for fun while I was having a full-time job. And I think this is a keyword for today, fun. You have to like what you're doing. Otherwise, you burn out in a hurry. That is really, I could tell you this message and then we just go home or we all go and have coffee. Because that is one of the key, you know, in my experience, one of the key findings. But let me take you through this presentation if I can get this right. Yeah, there it is. So I thought, you know, first of all, who of you is Indonesian? And who of you is from Africa? And who of you is from an Asian country? And who of you is from other countries? Am I missing? You are from another country? What? The Philippines. And you're from Africa. Because I think once you graduate here for an MA or for a PhD, right? Who is doing an MA? And who is working on a PhD? Whoa, hard work. All of you, by the way, all of you. But I know that when you leave here, you know, you can have many types of scholarly careers. Some of you will go on to study, to teach at university. Some of you will join a think tank or become not really journalists, but like an academic journalist. There's all types of academic background research. And some might just teach in high schools, which is also, I know very scholars who teach in high schools, very many. And that is actually wonderful, because these high school students are so lucky to have such a highly trained teacher, but they have the desire to keep writing. So that's why I'm adding that. And there are other professions. So whatever you will do, right, the thing is, the second point I'm going to make is this: you can always write. Because like I said, I was never planning to become a professor. I became a professor because of fate, because I met my husband and he's from America. I'm from the Netherlands. We were going to live in the Netherlands. I was going to work for the Dutch government. Then I was going to go into politics. And my family said, one day you will be a minister in the cabinet. Everything was planned out. But one thing, my husband is very tall. He hated the Netherlands because the ceilings are so low. And so I had to go to America and start with zero. My first thought was, I can always work at McDonald's, right? I can always do something. And that is how I slowly, you know, realized that I could start to teach. Actually, some American friends said, why don't you apply to universities? You have an MA, you're working on a PhD. So, but my career of writing scholarly started when I was in charge of a refugee agency. And that was in Egypt. And while in Egypt, I discovered a topic I was so interested in that I thought, why does nobody write about this? Why does nobody study about this? And so it starts. You want to study something, you want to write about something, and then you don't care whether you get a diploma for it or not. Who recognizes that drive? Well, raise your hand if you recognize that. Or do you think, nah, I'm not there yet, I'm an MA student, I'm not there yet. But if you find a topic, none of you has ever found a topic that you really wanted to write something about? Yeah, raise your hand if you have. Show me your hand. What was your topic? Cultural diversity and its impact on student experience. I see a potential future article, book, scholarly project, and so on and so on. So this is often how it starts. You realize you're really interested in something, even within your own field, right? You are all in the field of education, are you not? Yeah, but in the field of education, there are so many branches. So that is how it starts. That is my second point that will come up today. Now, I teach, wait, let me go back first before I go to this point. I teach at Wake Forest University. Nobody has ever heard of that. That's fine. I had never heard of Wake Forest University before I was invited to come and teach there. But who knows Duke University in North Carolina? Duke. Yeah, Wake Forest. Who knows the University of North Carolina in Raleigh, North Carolina? Wake Forest is the little sister. Because we do not have all the PhD programs. So we have mostly undergraduate and then MA. And why? Because Wake Forest has two requirements from its teachers. You have to be a good teacher and a good scholar. And because they require both, they give us a lot of training. We get all kinds of workshops all the time. And we get these workshops about how to be a better researcher. Well, sometimes there are good tips, but most of the times, you are you. You write the way you write. You research the way you research. So what is the best advice I ever received is how to network and how to get my work published. And I thought that is what I will share with you today. Now, let me come back to writing. And by the way, Bulena and I decided that sometimes I will ask her what her experience is. So I'm going to ask that right now, because the nice thing is that Bulena works at the university, but at the same time is director of a program and does not have to teach like we do. Because when you have to teach, you're very busy during the semester with the students and so on and so on. But then when you are in a more administrative position, it's a little bit different. So, Lena, is there anything you want to comment on of what I've been saying so far? You can have this one. Oh.
Okay, thank you. Can you hear me? Yeah. First, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and good morning. Thank you, Nelly, for this inspiring start of the lecture. I must admit that I really recognized myself in what you said, because I myself, I remember my mother brought me to the public library when I was 6 years and a half. I got a pink loan card with the number D2770. I still remember the number. And that was the opening for like coming into paradise. I was borrowing books. I brought them back home. I was laying on the floor, reading books, bringing them back again, carrying big bags, special permission to borrow more than the limit on number of books each time. And that was how I grew up. And I like to discover things, to learn things. I've always been curious. And that has been like driving me, like the trigger and giving me energy, up to date. So when I finished my PhD, I thanked my mother in the foreword for bringing me to the library when I was 6 years and a half. So this driving force of wanting to discover things, to find out new things, what it is about, this curiosity, I think it's a main driving force. It's not to be, you think about ambitions first, and then you do the right thing and the right career choice because you want to have material wealth. No, it's not about that. Academia, it's about curiosity. It is about exploring new things. And your specific new knowledge is a new drop in the ocean of the total ocean of knowledge. That is a part of belonging, creates belonging, that make you endure and make you feel alive. That you really, it's like oxygen. It's time that you meet people who are curious, who are discovering new things. And then I can say something afterwards, not to take the whole time, about my way into academia. But I want to correct you on one thing. You said that I am not teaching because I have a betwixt and between position at the University of Oslo. I'm half administrative and half academic. It's a combined position. So it's not purely administrative, it's not purely academic. What I am not obliged to do there is do teaching. I'm not obliged to do grading, but sometimes I do, even though I'm not obliged to. But when we are sitting at the lunch table complaining, we are complaining about the same thing. We don't have time to do proper research. We have very little time for writing and publication. The academics because of the teaching, and me because of all the administrative things. So we are in the same boat, so to say. So what then makes us focus and struggle to write? And for me, for you, it was writing. For me, it is about exploring. I have difficulties in writing, and afterwards I can give you a piece of advice of how are you been able to write.
Thank you. Yeah. Did you want to say anything about Bulena? Because you didn't introduce her yet. It doesn't work.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Lina. I highlight what your point about that academia is about curiosity, and your childhood experience of being brought to the library. I think this is a good experience for all of you also, that Lena started her curiosity because she was brought to the library. So that's the importance of parents to bring children to the library, yeah, to read, yeah. So I would like to introduce Dr. Lena Larsen. She is the director of the Oslo Coalition on Freedom of Religion or Belief. And her first degree was completed in 1987 in Spanish, Arabic, and Art History. And her MA completed in 1995 when she wrote a thesis, Welcome to a Large Family, Islam and Conversation in the Norwegian Context. And her PhD completed in 2011, and she has published her dissertation in the Netherlands in Brill 2018. The title of her book is How Muftis Think, Islamic Legal Thought and Muslim Women in Western Europe. And her research interest is Islam in Europe, Islamic jurisprudence with focus on fatwas, Islam and gender. That's what make us together, yeah. Professor Nelly, Dr. Lena, and I have the same interest on Islam and gender. And then in addition to that, she is interested in freedom of religion or belief, and then Islamic art. Actually, both of them have been here last year for the the freedom of, on the project New Direction in Islamic Thought, the Best Interest of the Child. I think you might continue. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So, first of all, now I am asking you something. Who has a piece of paper, and do you all have a piece of paper on your phone? Right? Because I called it fun, but I was going to say with the next slide, it's really enjoyment. You have to enjoy what you're doing, whether it's like Bulena says, reading, exploring. I mean, of course, we all enjoy exploring. Otherwise, we wouldn't sit here and do an MA. You enjoy exploring. And some people then love to write. Some people write, but they don't love to write. There's different gradations. We're going to talk about that. I want you to get out your phone, and I want you to write down what created this passion in you. You heard it by Bulena when she was 6 and she got the library card and discovered the world of reading. What is it that you can remember in your life that really somehow ignited in you this desire to learn? Write it down. I give you 30 seconds. Not yet, not yet. No, I'm going to present now, because this is the difference between you and me. See, I have a book, notebook. You have your phones. Yeah. Who still needs a few seconds? Did you all write it down? Because later on I'm going to ask you, okay? So now we're going to continue. So, but, like I say, you have to do it because you enjoy it, but it can also be very difficult. Does anybody know what one of the first obstacles to writing and publishing is? Does anybody have any idea why people don't write or publish as much as they could? Or why people who really are very good writers maybe don't write or publish? Does any of you have any idea? You do. You say yes or no? Raise your hand if you say, I have an idea. I won't call upon you. I will tell you myself. Raise your hand if you think you have an idea. And then we will see. Or maybe you are willing to talk. Yeah? What do you think it would be?
I'll give him another mic so you can hold.
Okay. All right. Okay. The big hurdle for me is about expressing in other languages.
Express? Oh, yes. That's a big one. Expressing in other languages. That's why I only write in English, not even in my own language, Dutch. Yeah, yeah. It's true, other languages. But also, it is because people are afraid of criticism. Who of you recognizes that? Who of you says, yeah? They are afraid when you put your work out there that someone will come and say, oh, this is terrible, this is awful. And we're going to talk a little bit about that now, because research has shown that a lot of research never makes it, that there's many, I actually have a friend who has 3 manuscripts in her closet. 3 manuscripts. This is from the time you still printed the manuscript, right? And they were never published. Because first of all, she got critique, and that killed it, that stopped it. So we're going to talk about that for a minute. And
Can I just comment on that?
not yet, not yet. You know, Lena and I work together a lot, and we know who wants what. But I want you to comment after the slide, and you can see the slide there too. No, because it is really publishing, writing, whether it's a blog, whether it's a piece, whether it's like you do a podcast, it requires a certain amount of courage. I can come back to the language. It requires a certain amount of courage even to do it in another language. I think all of us here are non-native speakers. For all of us, English is our second language. Am I correct? It's hard, isn't it? I live in America. I still have times that I have to look for words. So it is really, it's a big jump to go from, you know, but this is one of the realities of publishing these days. The majority of publications are in English. And then you have other publications in your own language, which tend to be for another public, right? And that is one thing. But so, basically, it requires courage because a lot of people are afraid of the criticism, of the critique. And I found this quote by Theodore Roosevelt. Do we all know who he is? Theodore Roosevelt. Who does not know who that is? That's okay. He was one of the he was one of the most influential presidents of the United States. And because he said, because you know, when you are a president, you get nothing but critique, right? Have you seen the speech by Biden, of the debate with Biden? Nothing but critique. Biden can be an excellent president. He says one debate and that's it. He's finished, that people think. So it is not the critic who counts. So if you write, it's not the critic who counts. It is not the man who points out where the strong person stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done it better. In other words, you do something, they might be criticizing and not do anything, right? The credit belongs to the person who is actually in the arena. So this is it. When you publish, you put yourself out there, you put yourself in an arena, because academia is a conversation. It's a constant dialogue. You, like Ibu Lena says, right? You participate and you contribute one little piece, and then someone else builds on your little piece. Or someone else says, this piece is wrong. You have scholars who spend a lifetime on writing about things that were totally wrong. You know, as education, as pedagogical specialists, you might know that there have been all kinds of approaches that have come and gone, and that didn't work or worked, and things like that. Medicine is even worse. You know, medical students learn that are taught in the first year, what you learn now will probably be obsolete in your 5th year. So we know that. It's an ongoing process, and we are part of that process. But you have to be in the process, in the arena. Because when you are in the arena, your face is marked with blood and sweat and dust. You sweat a lot when you write a lot. I mean, even if it's not literally sweating, it's thinking hard. It's thinking, oh my God, this is terrible, right? And who at the best, so the person who gets the credit at the best in the end knows the triumph of high achievement, and at the worst, if he fails, but he fails daring greatly. If you fail, right, don't see that as negative only. You, first of all, had the courage. But secondly, you learn from failure. Every bad article that gets a lot of critique, you learn from it. You won't do the same mistake next time, right? This is also with learning our languages, our English. We say something wrong, or we use something wrong in the sentence, we see it's wrong, so we fix it. So this is something that is very important to remember. It requires a certain courage. And there is, has any of you ever heard of Brené Brown? Because in America, there's a very famous psychologist, and you can hear her on YouTube. Have you listened to her? Maybe you listened to this one, because this is one of her most famous YouTube videos, where she says, I wish I had known this like 40 years ago. Did any of you see it? Those of you who know Brené Brown, this one, did you see this one? Yeah. No, she's very big in America. Why? Because she turns the picture around. She says, it's not about winning. Tell that to the Americans, right? In America, everything is about winning. But she says, no. And it's also not about losing. It's about showing up and being seen, and I would say being there. We are part of the process. And you know what you want to be. You know what you want to create. Do you want to be a writer of modules? Do you want to be the best teacher? Do you want to think about approaches that excite future students? Do you want to research brain functions? There are so many things, but you will be the creator, and you do create what you want to create. And if you say, oh, but I'm stuck in a project and I have to do this, even there you can find your own corner, right? And you want to make things that didn't exist before you touch them. Because everybody, as you write an MA, even when you wrote your BA paper, and as you go on to write your MA thesis and your PhD thesis, you will write about something that is new. Even if you take all the existing books and you summarize them, it's new. Have you ever thought about that? You are creators of innovation all the time. And sometimes the innovation can be in how you read certain texts. Like all of us this afternoon are going to speak in a panel about neo-colonialism and how to reread. And Bulena, maybe, you know, you can tell something about that. She's very concerned about how to decolonize Islamic studies, you know, because all the white audiences who are not Muslim, they listen with certain ears. And people from other countries who are Muslim listen with certain ears. So how do you cross those bridges? So I want to show up and be seen in my work and in my life. It's not just your work, it's also your life. It's this, and there's only one guarantee in life. You will be criticized. Okay, are we happy with that? So now, I will, before I give the floor to Bulena, I want you to take 30 seconds and write down on your phone or on your notebook what you think about this in your life, in your experience. And maybe, those of you who know Brené Brown, maybe you should share some of the videos that all of you can watch them. Yeah. Then it's your turn. Yeah, just give them a yes. I'm going to get some water.
Yeah, please have a seat.
Oh.
Okay. This is really so enjoyable to listen to all this process about criticism, you know, and it makes me really reflect on my own process. And with all respect, Dr. Nelly, I think that you described, you were way ahead, and you described an experience that the students already have. Because how is it that you have achieved to graduate? Is that you have gone already through this suffering process. That you come to your supervisor and you have started to explore a topic, you present the text, you come to the supervisor, and I will describe my process with my supervisor. Because I am not from a very academic background with regard to family. And all what I learned through reading books. So the culture of writing and discussing and academic words were not my strong part or strong part of my life. And when I came to my supervisor, I started religious studies as I came back to the university and started on religious studies. And in the first semester, I did the first year in one semester, and as I went to the person I wanted to be my supervisor, I said, I want to do a thesis of second degree. That is slightly more than a master. And she was looking at me and she said, yes, come back when you have your exam. I came back and I started. And I embarked upon mapping Islam in Norway and conversion in Norway. It was a new topic and completely new, and it was very challenging. And then I started writing. And it was so demanding to write, because I never really loved writing. And I submitted, and then I had a meeting with my supervisor, and when I had something weak in the argument or in my language, and it was in Norwegian, my own language. My supervisor, and you know her, Nelly, she has blue eyes. But when the text was weak, or the argument was weak, her eyes turned very blue, I learned by experience. And when I came, sat down, and she said, yes, I know, oh, now it comes. And I became depressed, because what shall I do? I am not good at writing. I am not this, I am not that, but my topic was so interesting, so I had to explore. And by suffering, and by accepting that I had to be precise in the definition, had to explore certain concepts, to be particular about footnotes, to be this, to be that. Finally, I made my dissertation and got a very good result. This continued into my PhD research and scholarship. And I have had also the pleasure to work with academic projects and publishing and editing in the process. So I learned to enjoy, that you have divided a word wrongly for the next line. There is a comma that should not be there, or there is a printing error there, and move that argument here, and it is not enough, precise enough there. So I learned to appreciate how to develop a text. And how could I do it? It was because I am not the text. I had seen a catastrophe of a colleague who had a PhD scholarship. When she got criticism of her text, she took it personally and started to defend herself. She never arrived at having her PhD. I'm still sad for her. But when you can let the text have its own life and really enjoy the process of seeing the development of a text and contribute to a very good text based upon criticism, then you are on the right track. I'm sorry, I would like to please give me just a little bit of time. I would like to highlight what your point about don't be afraid of criticism. So I learned that since my MA studies. So I usually aims to finish my assignment a week before I submit, and then I use that 1 week to make appointment with learning services unit. Yeah, the staff in the learning services unit. We don't have that in UIIU, but Lizzie in the library is open for you. So you can consider Lizzie in the library as your learning services unit who can help develop your writing. So what I learned when I saw the staff in the learning services unit, they will, well, put a lot of notes. At the moment we use track change, yeah. But then the conversation when she or he criticized my works, that's actually many of the learning process that I can took. And this is continuing when I did my, when I wrote dissertation, and then when I wrote for publication, people use track change, commented our work, and then we address that comment. So, and the way other people treated us about criticizing our work, that's actually very helpful for us at the moment as the supervisor in looking at the student text and giving feedback in order to improve their writings. That's my point. Thank you.
Yeah, you really have to be, and this is for everybody, because I know BA students who have published articles. I know MA students who have published articles, PhD students, and then, you know, you don't have to be graduated with a PhD to start publishing. So if you want your work out there, there's many ways to do that, and we're going to talk about that. But the criticism, you should see it as a gift to help you make your work stronger, to help you think about what am I writing about, to think about your hypothesis, about the questions you ask, and how you position yourself in a certain field. So, did you write that down? I love criticism. That's what you, so that is how you have to think about it, right? And I think that is actually for the rest of life as well. When criticism is good, when it is meant to help you, it is always useful. I know there is also criticism, like the one we saw from, that Theodore Roosevelt talks about, by people who just want to critique for no reason, who don't do what you're doing, who maybe they're jealous, but that's not what we mean, right? So think about it as something positive, but also learn to discern which criticism is to help me and which criticism is to break me down. That is very important too. And I think, let me see, what am I, oh yeah, before I go on and come back to what Bulena said, you know, what I say, when I say perfect storm, you know, a perfect storm is when everything comes together, and normally it means everything goes bad. You know, when a perfect storm means the ship will sink. But the perfect storm can also be positive. Because in a way, when you do research, or when you study, or when you read, it's really a combination of your passion, your interest, but also opportunity. You know, you might find a book that you think, oh my gosh, this is interesting, I never thought about this. Or you might listen to a talk somewhere that suddenly, you know, opens something in your awareness that you say, I never thought about it this way, this is interesting. So it is not really a straight line. Don't forget that. We all zigzag. And I think, I don't know, I'm not a mathematician and I don't do PhD level mathematics. I always think that mathematics work in straight lines, but then they say mathematics is the most mystical of all, so I don't know. But you also never know the precise result. I think everybody who has ever written knows you start writing an article and then suddenly you find yourself writing about something else in the middle of it, not another topic, but you go in a direction you had not expected. Again, that reflects life. You know, it's also with writing. I know very, very few people who know exactly what they're gonna write, sit down and write just that. Most of us meander. And again, as you do your research, as you read, you get new insights. and you might change your opinion about something. But like I say, be brave, but also dare to be vulnerable. Being vulnerable, putting yourself out there, you can do that in several ways. First of all, this is what we just heard. The first level of being vulnerable is your supervisor, your teacher, right? Who can really create a lot of problems in your life when they don't like what you're doing. But at the same time, do keep in mind, I'm learning. And that is when you go into academics, whether you become a professor or a teacher or you work in a think tanks, you are a lifelong learner. You never stop learning. So these things are not just for when you are in BA, MA, PhD level, or when you're as a professor already, they're for your whole life. And your whole life, you have to just have the courage to be vulnerable, just to try things. And because if you don't try things, you don't know if they will work. And there's a lot of people who try things in academia and everywhere, and they just don't work. Well, you did them, you learned from them, and you move on, right? That is not a problem. It's part of life. I mean, we accept when a startup, a startup in Silicon Valley closes because the app that they are inventing doesn't work out. We find that normal. We say, yeah, too bad. Nobody wanted that app. But in a way, we face the same in our fields. Sometimes we do something and it doesn't work, and we have to go back. And again, like we heard from Dr. Lena, you can get depressed, and it can be very discouraging. But I think it's always helpful. This is one of the many workshops we got that I learned. I'm not the only one. I'm not the only one experiencing this, and it's normal, and it's just, it's accepting it. It's what the Buddha, if you think about Buddhism, just let the river flow. You cannot stop the river, right? You have to let it flow, and you flow with it, but you won't change the water into something else. And you do not want to put a dam in it. So showing up and being there, I wanted to talk a little bit about that. Because what is showing up for us? Now, it depends. When I say teaching, I mean, in the semester, I don't know, what is the teaching load here? How many classes do you teach per semester? 2 classes. Yeah, because you're lucky. But I have colleagues in Indonesia who have to teach 6 classes and 6 preparations. And, so it means when the semester is starting, you have to teach classes, and maybe some of you are already teaching. Who of you is already teaching?
Many. Raise your hand.
Yeah. So because as students, you already start teaching, because also you get a lot of experience, right, by that. So when you teach your class, you show up. But also when you sit at your desk and read, you try to keep in touch with your field. You try to keep in touch with what's being published. What are people thinking? You read the professional journals in your field, in your specific field. Or you write sitting at your desk. Or you write letters to support your students. There's all kinds of things. Sitting at your desk is showing up as well, whether you sit at your desk at home or in the university. Now, another way of showing up is publishing, and I want to come back to that and talk a little bit about that. But what is also a really important way of showing up is giving talks. And what do I mean with giving talks? Sometimes we're asked to give an academic talk, right? Or we give talks in academic platforms. I don't know if any of you already is part of a professional organization. Who of you is who of you is a member of a professional organization? An organization that talks about your field. Yeah, it's most of the time it's people who have a PhD already, right? But do you know you can do it when you are at the MA level too? Because most professional organizations, they have special sections for what they call junior scholars, rising scholars, emerging scholars. You are all emerging scholars. Did you ever think about yourself that way? I'm an emerging scholar. Does it sound good to you? So if next time someone says, what are you doing for a living? You don't say, oh, I study. You say, I'm an emerging scholar. Okay? But you can also give talks like in your mosque or in your neighborhood or in a group, you know, there might be a group that is what do you call it, that organizes certain activities. So giving talks can be from very, you know, academic platforms to very grassroots platforms. Why? Why am I saying that? Because if you give a talk about what you are studying and what you are doing, you always have to prepare. I don't know if I'm the only one, but even if I give a talk for the 100th time, I prepare. I still prepare, and it's never the same. And then I also try to think about the audience, and I try to be on the right level. And sometimes you miss, sometimes you do it wrong, right? But the thing is that giving talks is very useful. So I want to know if any of you can think of why I say just giving talks is useful. Who can think about that? Who has an idea? Raise your hand if you have an idea why giving talks can be useful, whatever level of talks you give. Who can think of that, of a reason? Yeah? Here, let me.
Yeah,
you get the microphone. Yeah.
Okay. I think talks are very useful for the simple reason that whenever you talk, it's like while you're talking, you only are concentrating on your output. But immediately after you finish your talking, you know, a few minutes or seconds later, you realize that you are reflecting on what you are talking or what you talked about.
Yes.
So thereby, once you started reflecting on what you've talked about, then you can try to dissect through your speech and know where you had a success in and where you also had a failure in.
Absolutely. You use your topic, you know, and maybe you cannot use the whole topic, but you use the topic that you study to give a presentation, right? And then you tailor it to the audience. But like you say, suddenly it makes you reflect on your own studies. Or there might be questions that you never thought about. So, wow, this is interesting. Or you might actually meet someone who is interested in your work. Do you know that's how I got my first job in the States? By giving a talk at a camp, a summer camp. I gave a talk at a summer camp. I did not live in the States. I lived in Indonesia. And then I had to go back to the States because my children had to go to school, and you know, the choice was either you stay here for another 20 years or you go back. And it was a really difficult time, a difficult market, and there were over 100 applications for the job, for each of the jobs I applied for. And in America at that time, there were only 3 available, 3 jobs. One of the jobs had heard me talk, one of the people in the committee had heard me talk in that summer camp. Yeah. And that is what got me the invitation for an interview on the campus, and they flew me from Indonesia to America. You never know who is in that audience and listening and interested in what you have to say. So that will say, showing up, giving talks, is very useful. By the way, you can also give talks to each other, remember? Are you doing that here? Give, you know, share your research with each other. Now, blogging, YouTube, that's something new and really interesting that people do more and more. Share your knowledge. I don't know if any of you is doing that, but nowadays that's also a very, very valid way of showing up. And then attending professional meetings. I'm coming back to that because every field of study has its professional meetings. And like I say, don't wait till your PhD to do that. You can do it as MA, because almost all professional organizations have levels for emerging scholars. Now, later on I'm going to say this. If they don't have it, tell them to create one. Because you are the customer. You are the future scholar. You are going to be maybe the future director of that organization. Tell them, why are you ignoring young scholars, right? And then they will start thinking about it. Now, there's also service. When you are in a university, there's a lot of service. You have all these committees, you have all these things, activities. Now, these are very important. If you teach in a school or in a university, or you are in you know, the type of work that Dr. Lena is doing, service is very important because it's the oil that keeps the engine of the organization running. You know, people being in committees and deciding on things, people organizing this panel, this was a service, right? Organizing something like this is a service. Who was in the committee who organized this? Was there a committee?
The studio.
Yeah, okay, that was service, right? Very important. And so you think about these things. So that is also showing up, doing service. And don't be shy to do service and never consider it a waste of time. It's very important. Now, sometimes there are activist groups you can join, and one activist group, if I may say, can I call KUPI an activist group, Bonina? Do we know KUPI, the Congress Ulama Perempuan Indonesia?
Who knows about KUPI?
Who knows about KUPI? Raise your hand if you know about KUPI. I see a hand in the back. KUPI, oh my gosh, we need to tell them. Yeah. KUPI was the first, 2017, was the first international Congress, women ulama, women scholars and leaders of religion. Here in Indonesia, 2022, they had the second Congress. They're now preparing the third one. But all these organizers, here's one, Bunina, Professor Nina, she's part of this KUPI activism. All these people involved in KUPI, whether they're ulama or whether they're scholars in other fields, you know, they have other professions. Some are working as a niai in the pesantren, they're teaching in the pesantren. Some are professors at Islamic universities. Some work in NGOs, and so on and so on. Some are politicians. So you see, they got together, each using their skills, and created KUPI. And now KUPI is becoming really a huge phenomenon in Indonesia of thinking about Islam in different ways. And we have two experts here who can say more about that. If you want to know more about that. And voluntary work, that's showing up too and also important. And it is never wasted.
Can I comment?
Yeah, I wanted to see the next slide and then I wanted to ask you to comment. I forgot what is on the next one. Okay, then I go into the different sections, so teaching, yeah?
Yeah, so what counts? What is important in all this? Because you're speaking very much from a university perspective. What counts? What counts in all this is to be a good academic. What does it mean to be a good academic? To know the subject. Hopefully, to not perfection, but can never be perfect. But to really be good in the subject itself. But what we are seeing these days is a dangerous trend. There are two things that is inside what I consider is a dangerous trend. Is the mercantilization of academia itself. It means that you are doing with a certain objective to obtain something from that degree. You are not focusing on the subject itself in the process to disclose, to explore, to learn. That is not an object in itself. It's just a result. So you have a paper, you have a shahada, and you have a diploma, and you are getting on. That is one thing. The second thing is the focus on personal gain and self-interest. If this is bigger, to promote oneself is bigger than the knowledge itself that is sacred, then we are on dangerous grounds. If you see the biggest diamonds on the or the stars in the sky of knowledge, they never promoting themselves first. It was they were great scholars, and they had good personal qualities. So don't forget that. With regard to how you can, because it's very much about doing the right things. Yes, you can do the right thing, but if you bring the good personal quality and the ethics into it, that is what contributes to the continuation of academia as a civilization and a culture. And it's very much forgotten these days in this promotion of materialism and self-interest and all this. And it's also to contribute to the society with the knowledge that one has, wherever one is, whether it's like a parent, it is in all these fora that Dr. Nelly has described. But the driving force is actually the interest and the curiosity of what you are doing and to explore new things. And that is also what will bring you together with others, to be in a community that you can inspire each other, that you find new things to explore, and that will also make you great scholars.
Well, it does depend where you teach and where you are. But in a way, what I hear you say is maintain your own integrity wherever you are, and whatever your environment is. Because some places are super competitive, and you're in a competition boat. So
but you can be competitive, and you can be
considerate. But like you say, keep your integrity, be ethical. So I thought, now I'll break it down. I'll go first to teaching, because I told you Wake Forest the professors in Wake Forest are considered teacher scholars. You cannot teach in my university without a PhD. You will not be able to stay. But you have to teach really well. And there's constant evaluation. And again, sometimes this is something we have to live with. I can tell you this because I'm older. And I've seen many students. Students change. The perception of students, the frame of mind, the mindset changes. Of course, when I first started teaching, nobody had ever heard of an iPhone. But things change. And so sometimes you give lectures that the class a year ago loved, and this class this year, they just criticize you as if they hate every minute in your class. This can happen. What does it mean? Again, dare to be vulnerable, right? What it means is you need to sit down. You need to talk to the students and say, hey, where did I go wrong? You revise your syllabus. You revise your materials. You maybe revise your approach, right? And this is, so that's what I'm saying. Good teaching is lifelong learning. Lifelong learning of the materials to really know your stuff, because students immediately smell it when you don't, but also to constantly be aware that teaching, and you are much more aware of that than anybody else, teaching is really a craft, it's a skill, and you can learn it. Even if you're not a born natural teacher, you can learn a lot, right? You can learn a lot of strategies, and you can adapt, and that is one of the parts of teaching. We are now going to assume that whatever you're going to end up doing, part of your job will be teaching. Even if you are in an NGO or in what like Bulena does, you will be teaching. The trends, like I'm saying, the trends change. Sometimes, first of all, what I call the trends is like the topics that people are interested in. The topics researchers are interested in change all the time, and the topics your students are interested in change all the time, and the topics you are interested in change all the time. For example, I am in the study of religion, right? And there's certain scholarly classes I teach. I have to teach MA classes, MA levels. But what I noticed in America, and maybe that's not the case here in Indonesia, or not the case in your country, wherever you're coming from, I noticed that students are getting extremely anxious. Students are very, very anxious. They're constantly afraid of failing. They constantly feel vulnerable, and they constantly feel, you know, that there is no future for them. So I created a class, and this is what I call a trend, on contemplation and meditation. And in that class, we look at neurology, neurological research. We look at religion, like, for example, we talk about Sufi ways of meditating. We talk about Christian ways of meditating, because meditation, often in the West, everybody thinks it's only Buddhist. But that's not true. Every religion has a very rich khazana of ways to meditate and ways to contemplate and to relax and to focus, and basically to do what Bulena says, to focus on what matters, right? And so that's what we do in that class. They have to do research. They have to read about these different religions. At home, they must meditate, and it's part of their homework. And they have to write a reflection on what that meant to them. And then they do their own project. And these projects are amazing. I couldn't believe it, what they come up with. Of course, what my most fun project was that when an 18-year-old did research on meditation and getting older. That was marvelous, because she was talking about me, right? and was totally unaware that in a way she was talking about my generation. But there was students who, for example, did research on do certain computer games have meditative value? And they researched that. It was really interesting. So they really started to think about what are we doing in our lives? What are we interested in? Like some are pre-med, some are pre-business, you know. But our students, when they are in the first years, they can start, some are pre-education, pre-psychology, and they all, from their own point of view, so this is what I mean, the trends. Read your class, think about what is it with your class, what's going on with your students. And then think about how can I help them. And this class has become one of the most popular in my department. And not that I'm so good, but they want to know. And now I see actually everybody's copying it across. There's no class in mathematics, in the Department of Mathematics, on meditation and contemplation. So hey, we have a trend. But also use your research. If you are interested in something, use it, share it with your students, and even if it's at a very low level, share it, let them, you can even share some of your writings with them and make that part of the class materials. Share your research so that also you, again, can benefit. It's a little bit like giving these talks. And design classes around your interests, your research interests, or your passion, right? I mean, why would you be bored by teaching things you're not interested in? Now, I know we all have a frame. You have to teach about a certain topic, right? And I don't know in Indonesia if the books are prescribed in every department. I'm asking that from the colleagues. What?
Not really compulsory.
Not compulsory?
What is the question? Sorry.
Are the books prescribed that you can use, or can you choose as a professor? You have a frame of reference, you have to teach about this topic, but then there's maybe one book that everybody uses, but the rest you can choose. Correct?
Yeah. Individual courses or?
Individual courses.
Right. It's up to us.
Yeah, it's up to you. So this is something you always have to keep in mind. It's up to you. So you can make things interesting the way you want to make them interesting. And you can align what you're doing, what you're interested in, with your teaching. And that makes your teaching more enjoyable, really. And involve your students. I have the best times, I have great times, when students write small research papers about the topics in my class. And they just love it. They just love to do small research papers. And often students have different, different frame of reference, have access to different materials, and they come up with the most interesting things. Like once I had a student from China who was Muslim. He said, can I write a paper? This was a 3-page paper, right? Can I write a paper about Islam in China? I said, sure. He wrote 90 pages. Yeah, I should have failed him on that, but he was so excited. And he said, I learned so much because I can read so much about my own religion here that it's not available where I am. And he could use the Chinese sources. He could use any source he wanted. And he said, wow, you really opened my eyes. And that was, of course, a great compliment for me because I'm not a Muslim. but the thing is that students, they're very creative. They're really creative, and they can come up with all. So you are all very creative. You know that, right? I already told you that. Okay, mentoring students is also important. Now you can mentor it like we said. Well, you can have these expressions that immediately show the student, oh my gosh, I now have to shrink, help. But you can mentor students think about their lives, think about their journey, think about what shall I do next. You can encourage them in so many ways. If you see a student who's really not good in what they're doing, you can help them think about alternatives. You can show them that there's so much in life that can be done. This is very important, especially if you are in education. As educators, that is a really important role you can play. And I say offline and online because nowadays, especially after the pandemic, there's a lot of online teaching. All these things, online teaching actually make these things more important. Actually, when you teach online, you have to even be more outspoken, more engaging. Online teaching seems a nice way out. It's actually harder. I don't know if any of you has experienced that already. You have to be more intense. Okay, now I'm going to give you a few seconds again. If there's anything you recognize from this list, anything that you say, yeah, I've been doing this and I really enjoy this, because in the end I'm going to ask you. I'm going to ask if any of you can share what you've written down, right? So I give you a few seconds. Get your phone, get your notebook. Is there anything in the teaching that speaks to you that you say, wow, I want to do this, or I'm already doing this?
I think there's something that you mentioned earlier that you've been practicing in your own teaching and been becoming a trend in your own university about meditating before class. So how did you do that? In my class, typically, because I'm from the Faculty of Education, typically we have we call it a perception, whatever. It's like, how are you today? And the previous content we talk about this, and today we are doing this, this. But I'm not really sure that I can do the meditation. It seems like working a lot. Yeah. Can you share more in practical way?
Oh, yeah. Did you all write down what I asked you to write down? Because there's a question here. If I can share how I did meditation in the class. Well, first of all, they have to meditate at home, but I always start the class with 5 minutes. And the students have to, each time, 2 or 3 students have to decide how the 5 minutes will be. Will they play music? Will they dance? Will they walk? Will they sit with their eyes closed? Because meditation, well, you know Sufi meditation, the zikr, right? We all know the zikr. There's so many ways you can move your body and meditate. And there's all kinds of ways of focusing. For example, drawing. So the students decide. And then we spend 5 or 10 minutes. And if they really like it, they ask if we can maybe do it again in another classroom. Is that your question? Yeah. So I asked the students, because you know, I'm an old-fashioned meditator. I just sit with my eyes closed. It's more like, for me, meditating and prayer overlap. But I know there's many ways to meditate. And like I say, as the research, especially the brain research involves and our perceptions, we learn more and more about that. But again, that's what I'm saying. Ask your students. If you ask any of these students, they come up with the most amazing things, right?
Can I come up with one amazing thing?
Yeah?
That is my passion and my way of meditation.
Oh, yeah,
that is the practice of Arabic calligraphy. Rabbi Yassir wala tu'assir. And then you start and you struggle with the fine details. It's like hair, the hair has to be exact according to the proportion. And it's like a meditation, and you are like an ocean, and doing the dua and dhikr ala tol, constantly, when you are drawing these very slow lines in order to proceed. So that is my way.
By the way, Dr. Lena, I invited her to give a talk about her calligraphy in my class on contemplation and meditation. And she gave a talk from Norway, and it was very well received. Students just, you know, explaining the value of calligraphy. Because, you know, of course you have the calligraphy of the Quran, but you have many types of calligraphy. And they were very excited about that. So that's another tip, by the way. Look at each other and think, hey, what are you doing? Can I invite you for something and you can help each other out, right? Yeah. Okay, so now we come to the part of the writing, and I still need to know, what time is it until when do we have time?
That's okay, Nelly. I can stop you at 11.
What?
I can stop you at 11. So we have 20 more minutes.
20 more minutes? Oh my goodness. Then I have to stop almost.
But
no.
If you are tired, you can pass the mic to Lena or me, up to you.
Okay. Well, the writing. I just wanted to come back to writing. We already heard writing in another language is hard, and we all are in that boat. None of us writes in our own, or most of the time for international publications, we don't write in our own language. And that's a struggle. We are very lucky. We have Grammarly and things. Do you know Grammarly? That's it. We have artificial intelligence that we can use to our best benefits. We can put text now in an artificial intelligence, program, and they will tell us where we went wrong, and we can learn from it. Life has never been better as far as I'm concerned. Right, honestly, I just love it. And we're so lucky. We are lucky, I feel. But the thing is, when you write, you really have to know yourself. What kind of writer are you? Do you write early morning? Do you write late at night? Are you a quick writer? Like, you have people who say, tick, 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 quick, 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 you know, 3 pages, 4 pages, 5 pages. But then they read them and I think, well, what was I saying? What did I want to say? Fine. You know, some people do that. Other people, they call them bricklayers. They create, they craft their sentences one by one, and every day they make one paragraph. So the thing is, what kind of writer are you? And be happy with it. Don't think, oh, help, I made 5 pages and they're terrible. No, that's the process. That is your process. You have to understand your process and work with it, right? Sometimes, at least that's how I write. I write just also sometimes to organize my ideas. Like, what do I actually want to say, and how do I want to say it, right? So the bottom line is, start writing. Don't wait. Start it. You can always delete. I mean, deleting is so easy with laptops. You just delete and start over, right? Or you cut and paste. And then there are, of course, a lot of types of writing. So that is another thing. Is it a very highly technical, highly academic article? Or is it like what I mentioned, a blog? What kind of writing? And how much energy do you have for each type of writing? That's something you have to think about for yourself as well. Because some people have no trouble writing a blog, and other people have no trouble writing very academically. So it's also what is it that you do best and first and quickest, right? Or, I mean, you have to really think about that yourself and accept it. And then maybe arrange your day accordingly. Writer's block and burnout is normal. So when you have a writer's block, you don't know what to do, keep reading. Keep reading or keep discussing your topic with someone, with friends, with colleagues, with your mentor, with teachers, right? Just keep going. But, I mean, don't put too high expectations on yourself. You're human. The human brain can only do so much. I have a friend who is a constant writer. She's a very avid writer. Her experience is after 3-4 hours, that's it. The head is empty. And she goes and works in the garden, right? Very few people can write 8 hours a day. Maybe you can, I don't know. So the thing is, what kind of writer are you? And like I say, dare to be vulnerable. So now I want you to write down, what kind of writer are you? Think about that yourself, yeah? And, okay, so we don't have that much time anymore. I don't know
Nelly,
if we need to find a publisher.
Before you find a publisher, can I just make a small comment?
Sure.
I want to ask you a question. How many of you have been struggling to finalize a text in a certain time?
To finish.
To finish
on
a
time,
text.
on time, you mean?
On time, but within a certain time.
I think all of us.
Yes. Why do I ask that question? Because I was asked that question by a rather famous professor. She came to Norway to be in a committee PhD, and we know each other, so we said, let's have coffee. And I was looking forward to that coffee. And she had just published a marvelous book with really new ideas. And I said, how did you manage? She was in a certain life conditions. And I said, yeah, I did manage because I had a certain methodology. And I said, and now you, what did you do with your PhD text? Because it was not published at that time. I said, oh, I don't have time. It's so much to do. I don't know exactly how I'm going to do it, and so on and so on. And she said, now I'm going to give you a methodology, and if you follow that, you will get your book published. And now I want to give you the methodology before you get to the publisher, and then you continue with the publisher. That is. She took a piece of paper, and she made how many columns? One for the date, the second column for what, then the third column for time, and the fourth column for comment. And she said, you are going to write a date. What are you writing on today and that day? And how much time are you actually sitting, actively concentrating, writing? And then she said, not in hours, in minutes. If you are getting up to make yourself a cup of coffee, you will stop the clock. And when you come back and sit down again, you will start the clock again. If you go to the toilet, you will stop the clock. And when you come back, you will start the clock again. In that sense, you will be aware, and you cannot lie to yourself how much time you have been spending in writing that text. And then in the end of the day, you will write a comment. What did you learn today? What were your challenges today? And what did you get of new insights? And what was encouraging today? Whatever you learned through those concentrated minutes, you will put in the comment. And she told me, if you follow this, you will get your book published. I finalized and revised the text in 3 months. and I got my book published.
Whoa. Well.
So now I give you the gift, not from me, I am just the intermediary. I give you the gift from Professor Shaheen Sardar Ali, Warwick University, Professor of Law.
Right. Thank you for saying that. But my point is know yourself, because this doesn't work for me. I tried it. Because when I go and stand up for coffee, I think about my writing. I actually stand up because I'm trying to formulate a sentence in my head.
But you were not writing, you were thinking about
and
writing.
Then I created the sentence much better. So in a way, but that's what I'm saying, know yourself, think what works for you, and ask, this is great. Everybody has their own method. But do not feel, you know, when I first heard this method, I thought, marvelous, I'm going to do this. It didn't work for me. So, you know, but I didn't stop writing. So this is some of the things. Know yourself. What kind of writer am I? And learn to live with that, and learn to be, what do you call it, efficient in the type of writer you are. If you want to publish something, so you want to publish maybe a book, and you say, whoa, 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 we're only MA, PhD, or MA, BA here. What? My methodology? I take a block of time. I say I'm going to write from 8 to 12. I won't answer my phone. I won't do anything, but I do make coffee. And if I'm stuck, I just you know, potter around, thinking about what I'm doing, or go consult books. I just have a block of time. That's what I use. And then it depends. When you have a deadline, you sometimes work like the wind. Yeah. And if you know you have more time, you work less like the wind. But you know, the thing is that sometimes life interferes. You cannot always do what you want to do.
Lizzie, you can
Depends. I used to work from 10 to 2, 10 to 2. When my children were small, I worked from 10 to 2 in the morning, unless I had to teach. On the days I didn't have to teach, I wrote from 10 to 2. You know, children have to go to school, bring them to school, get back, and or go to your office. And then at night, from 10 to 2, I used to work again after they went to bed. I don't do that anymore. But some people are better in the morning, some people are better in the afternoon. It really depends on you. That is why I don't think there is one solution. I mean, what you can do, though, is talk to someone who can help you find your method, find your solution, what works for you. And then, you know, try to stick with it. But the thing is that if you start to write something, I know Bonina is always very early in the morning, right?
Yes.
Well, if I do something at 4 o'clock in the morning and I read it at 10, I think, was I asleep when I wrote this? Was I dreaming out loud? It makes no sense. It is like at 4 in the morning, I cannot think yet. Bonina can. but so again, it's like it is your rhythm. What do you prefer? But the point is, get in, do it, show up. That's the point. Don't say, oh, I don't have 5 hours. Sometimes there are weeks that you only have 1 hour a day, maybe only half an hour a day. Too bad. Take the half hour, do it. Why not, right? Was that an answer to your question? Okay, now, I didn't know if any of you was already ready to publish a book. But the thing is, how do you find publishers? Well, the first thing is a strong book proposal. You write what the book is about. You say exactly what the book is about. You send that to the publishers that you think would be interested in your work. That's why I'm saying, look at catalogs. What do publishers publish about? And then talk to the editors. How? You could write an editor a message. You could go to the professional meetings. Often the big publishing houses are at the professional meetings, especially the international professional meetings. You can talk to them. You can ask for an appointment. Now, this is high-level book. Most of you are not there yet. But if you want to create an article and to a journal, it's actually the same type of approach. because you look at the journal that you think would be interested in your work, and then it really helps to just write a message to the editor or the editors and say, wow, I'm a student at UIII, and I'm in a master's level program, and I'm doing this for an MA thesis, and would you be interested in this topic? And then they will let you know, right? And so, or you can talk to the board members of a journal. Those are mentioned, right? You could write to them. So don't be shy. Connect, start to network. Don't be shy to just ask, would you be interested in this? Or we are a team here at our university. We are MA students, and we are a team of 4, and we are all working on a certain paper. Could we send it to you for publication? And then often they will let you know. You see? So this is something I wanted you to think about. That you can connect with publishers or with editors and discuss your work with them. And, but always look at the journal. Does the journal work on what you work on? Because otherwise, if it has nothing to do with your topic, it will be rejected, right? And then, okay, if they send it out to peer reviewers, and it comes back with a lot of criticism, and they reject it, what do you do? Who has an idea? What do you do?
Okay.
Yeah? Do you have an idea, Bunina?
Yeah, I'm thinking about
the time.
Not only about the not about the time. Maybe it's good for us to take question first. So you must sit. I don't want to make you standing for a long time. Yeah. But if you still want to say something, say it. If not, we will take questions.
Sure. Now I wanted to go to questions shortly, but the thing is that what a lot of people do is they send something into a publisher. It's sent out to peer review, it gets a lot of criticism, it's rejected, and then they get disappointed and discouraged. Don't. Look carefully at the criticism, so I come back to the beginning, look carefully at the criticism, rewrite, and send it somewhere else. Or you can even send it to the same place. You can ask them, say, well, I rewrote this, do you think it's publishable now? Just try. Because I know that if you go into academics, publishing in journals is very important. But there's a good manner, good ethics and good manners of journal publication. Don't hand in a paper and then publish it somewhere else. Because that happens, I happen to be an editor of a journal, and I have seen that now several times. Because, if a journal only comes out a few times a year, they don't have space for everything. Your article might be in the pipeline. If they like it, they will let you know. And sometimes then, you write them and say, we're ready, and you don't hear anything back. They don't even write back, say, sorry, we already published somewhere else. No, they don't answer. That's not good. Don't do that. Because you'll get yourself a reputation you don't want to get, right? So be honest to the editor, talk to them, write them, and most of them will write you back and discuss your work with you. I think we got the message from Bonina that this is where we kind of stop. I think this is almost the end of I was going to talk a little bit about professional meetings and how to use them, but I already mentioned that. If there are professional meetings in your field, in Indonesia or in your own country, or in other countries that you feel are not really there for you, just approach the board members, approach those in the committees and say, couldn't we have a section for students who work on this or that topic? Could we have a panel on this and that topic? You see, you don't be shy to be creative and to propose things yourself, because they might not know there is this desire out there. They might not know. I've been, the American Academy of Religion, you probably don't know that because you're all in education, right? But for me, the big platform is the American Academy of Religion. Have you been there, Bunina? It's massive. There's thousands of members. I mean, lots of members and thousands of people show up for the meeting. Hundreds of panels. I have been the chair of the program committee. So I had the overview of all the panels. I saw all the panels, you know, and the most valuable to me was if MA students or PhD students contacted me and said, hey, we don't have this at all. We're all working on this and nobody talks about this. And then we would say, oh, why don't you make a round table and discuss it? And then you can share your work and people can learn about what you're doing. So this you can do in all kinds of different settings, whether it's in Indonesia or in whatever country you're from, or whether you go to a European country and are part of a meeting there, or, for example, there are also international organizations who have local meetings. Next week we are going to the Asian Association of Asian Studies in Yogyakarta. That is an American organization. That is based in America. Everybody who's going to give a paper, are you Nina? Everybody who's going to give a paper there, actually that paper counts as a paper in an international conference. So, you can then put it, you don't have to say it was a local meeting. No, it was the Association of Asian Studies. That's what you gave a paper at. You see what I mean? So I think I'm going to stop there to see if there are any questions, any things you want to discuss. But I would also love it if you, see, I had more things, but now I say questions, discussions, you first. I would love it if you share what you've written down in the 30 seconds I've given you here and there when I had questions.
Could you show us the earlier than this, the slide before the question? Oh, okay, yeah, we'll cover that later.
Yeah.
I don't want to make you like.
Oh, that's okay. No, I'm just interested. If anybody wants to share their findings, things they wrote down, or do you say, no, this is private, I'm going to keep this for myself. You're willing to share? Is there a microphone? Wonderful.
Yeah, thank you very much for the opportunity. Once again, my name is Amadou F. Jallo, an MA Batch 3 student from the Gambia. I think I have 2 questions, and I would also like to share some of the things that you've asked us to do during your wonderful speech. My first question reads, how do we grow from a novice writer to an expert, owing to the fact that when we go through certain scholarly work, we wonder how we could write such a standard work to add our voice into the worldly knowledge. As you stated earlier, that what are some of the things that makes us come here or venture into the field of academia? To me, it's that I am always curious and eager to explore the fountain of knowledge. The other one, I may not remember exactly what you said, but I think I wrote this one. It is indeed insightful. Accepting criticism in life is part to success, yet absorbing criticism means it will sink us down, resulting in our failure. As one of the speakers mentioned, that we need to gauge through which of the criticisms we need to accept. There are some criticisms that are put to us that are made to bring us down, but there are others that are made to take us up. My other question goes to Bulina, as she is as she is an expert in decolonizing the mind. So my question to Bulina, how can we decolonize the minds of young people of our generation from having to achieve education at all levels of knowledge with the aim of material gain? Because looking into the current trend of academia, most of youth are eager to get certificates, but not actually having the core authenticity of the knowledge. Thank you.
So can you repeat the first question again, or can I read it? It's on your phone?
Yeah.
Can I see it? Because I'm not sure if I understand it from a novice writer to how to. That's a big question. Yeah. Well, because with writing, it's as is with everything. Very few people write a fantastic book all at once. If they do, you know, they've often got a lot of help. The dissertations, you know, sometimes dissertations win awards. Often they had really good supervisors, or they had a team of colleagues that helped them peer review, proofread, and so on. So how do you become a good writer? Really by, I think, discussing your work in small circles. Like many universities now have small groups of students that work together, right? And you read each other's work, and you criticize it, and you give each other's ideas and insights, and so on and so on. You also then tell each other what you do and do not understand, because you might be making a point and someone is totally missing it. Yeah? So in a way, whether you write a small article or a big book, that process is pretty much the same. You don't really ever write something all alone, right? You do the research, you make the text, you make the draft, but then it goes through a lot of other eyes. And I think that is the key. Discuss your work with others. Try to figure out what is it where I go wrong, what people don't understand. Because often we write things that are totally clear for us, and someone said, "What are you talking about?" Has any of you ever had that? That people have no idea what you're talking about. See, those are golden opportunities again to say, I can make this more clear, I can make my point. Yeah, so in a way, I cannot say how you go from a junior writer to a senior writer, because some people jump over. Some people have the first book and it's a big hit, right? And some people, they have a longer process. So, but it doesn't matter, because in a way, the method is pretty much the same. Is that an answer to your question? Okay, then I let Ibu Lena speak now.
You have the mic. Yeah. Actually, thank you so much for the question. It's a huge question. So we could talk until late night. But I will try to be short. First, of course, when young people starts with an educational formation, it is, of course, to have a diploma, to have a profession, to have income in their life. That is for everybody, everywhere, in all the world. We don't spend time education just for fun. It's also fun, but it has a serious aim. So, of course, that is the framework from within that we are searching for knowledge and with the ultimate aim to have a diploma in order to have opportunities in life. It means that we have to learn the métier, what you call the craft of the subject that we are studying, whether it is architecture, whether it is mathematics, whether it is cultural studies, whether it's religion or medicine or anything else. We need to learn the craft, and the craft has some concepts, some theories, some methodologies, and that has to be learned. This is only the starting point, because that has to be learned anyway. Now we are speaking about decolonization. And it is to get rid of the grip of the old colonies and the colonial thinking. With regard, I can give one part of the methodology that I'm coordinating as the director of the Oslo Coalition. How do we work when we want to promote freedom of religion or belief? The old Christian tradition focused on the right to convert without any dangerous consequences for the person in question. That is because it was like, you know, the Christian missionaries were like the fifth column of the colonial powers. So that was the traditional way. You can see it in the Article 18, what is, you know, the core of freedom of religion or belief. You shall have the religion according to your own choice or belief or non-belief. You can change without any harmful consequences. It's about the right to educate your children, and it is fundamental, can only be limited to certain, under certain conditions, the 18.3. So it's very short. And always people have thought that this is about religion. So it is a stepchild in the human rights family. And because people don't like, you know, religion, it's about feeling, it's about relief. So it's a huge misunderstanding. But this is the result of the rhetoric of missionaries. Rhetoric and the domination of the West in formulating the international human rights. That was a battlefield, the Article 18 in the ICCPR, the International Convention for Civil and Political Rights. Now, what have we learned in the Oslo Coalition? We have learned to listen to our partners. What do they think is the problem in the local context? How do they approach the challenge that they consider is now where the shoe hurts? And we listen to them. And based upon our expertise, for example, the expertise of Dr. Nelly, my expertise in the research on fatwas, others have expertise on law, codified law, and judges. Others have with regard to the Orthodox Christian Church. There are so many approaches, and how to teach about religion and human rights. So these are some of the topics that we are working with in the Oslo Coalition. And what have we learned? It is a way of decolonizing the discourse on human rights. Because when we spoke to Orthodox Christians, they were concerned about the canonical territory as a modern challenge. Because one church in one area, you see in Ukraine, you see in Russia, you see the deep split in the Orthodox Church has become a geopolitical issue. When you come to Indonesia, we heard about child marriage. We heard about widows who didn't inherit only the half of the brothers, and they were the breadwinners. We heard about real problems for real people. And people said, this is not just. So we started to explore the concept of justice. And we went deep into Islamic thinking and come up with reform thinking. We concerned Muslims. They want the best for the society. And when, you know, whatever I learned, and speaking with Muslims, these are the real challenges. Based upon knowledge, we find solutions, and there are solutions based upon local understanding and a local wish for the benefit of society and the individual. When I present this thinking, these arguments to a Western audience, they are just looking at me. They don't understand anything, because the main problem is the hijab. You know, they don't understand a clue of what is going on inside. And for me, you know, I come to Indonesia and I see this liberation theology being produced locally with local arguments. That has, of course, is a transnational issue. But in the very first line, the front line, is the development of gender perspective and women's rights based upon Islamic arguments. This is the model for the world. So when I say that, I come back to Norway. They're just looking at me, don't understand anything. That is decolonization of ideas.
Oh, you would like to speak? Okay, please. Yeah, I just wanna say the first time I saw Lena, Dr. Lena, I thought she is from Middle East. But then during my talking while we were swimming, I know that she is originally from Norway and she was converted to Islam. So she's Norway.
Okay, I converted 40-some years ago.
Yeah, Budeli, you would like to speak, please.
Well, I just want to also bring what you say back to your question about writing books. Because part of the problem is with scholarship, that a lot of scholarship, there's a hierarchy of scholarship. And a lot of scholarship is produced in the West. And it is not necessarily so that what is produced in the West works in other countries or other continents. And that is also decolonization. So if you talk about writing a large book, what do you call it, a volume of substance in your fields, that might be needed, right? You have to think about what is the situation here, and what we have to think about is how do we use the different types of knowledge? Because the problem was that a lot of the universities that started in the West, then in the colonial eras, including, I'm sorry, I'm from the country that is really guilty of colonizing Indonesia, and they were the ones who started the educational systems here until the Indonesians took over themselves. But the problem were the books. There were the books. I mean, I have had PhD students because I have a small professorship at the Vrije Universiteit in Amsterdam. And that's where I have PhD students. I have PhD students who exactly work on those issues. For example, I have a student who is a pastor in a Christian church in Jakarta and who is researching counseling in the Indonesian context. Because all the books that are taught in the seminaries for future pastors are books written in the West and then translated in Indonesian. It doesn't fit. It doesn't fit the concept of the different islands, the different sukus, the different cultures. So that is something she's working on. So one of the things that needs to be done is replace literature. And then put it, when we say again, academics is a conversation. So you put what was made in the West in conversation, what is needed in your own place, and vice versa. And that is also what I think is missing, and that's what Bulena is saying. What is missing is that what is produced in Africa, in Asia, Southeast Asia, that is not really being returned to the Western countries. And that is, we have, of course, anthropologists and things like that, but that is something that is the future, in my view, one of the futures of academia. This dialogue, this academic dialogue of understanding what we need in different places and applying, maybe different methodologies, different theories, and writing your own materials.
Okay, before taking question, I would like to highlight one thing from the PowerPoint of Professor Nelly about attending professional meetings. Because I first saw her actually in the American Academy of Religion in
Chicago, isn't it? 2008. Yeah, yeah. She was so beautiful, wearing green and then the white necklace. But at that time, I didn't dare to say hello to her. I just thought, okay, that's Nelly. Oh, I was really happy because I read her book and I used her book to teach in America at that time in Redlands University. Okay, I didn't say a word. I just saw her in a distance. Even though she's like 1 meter ahead, I didn't say hello at that time. So I just saw her. Okay, but I was very lucky that when I was working at Komnas Perempuan, she was doing research and then she visited Komnas Perempuan and we do a lot of conversation and then we know each other and then we have like holiday together after being the speakers together. So now I feel like I'm very close with Professor Nelly and I'm very glad. And actually when I wrote about the topic of this graduate forum about keeping productive beyond your graduate studies, I saw you very active, not only in the American Academy of Religion and even now you come here to Indonesia to participate in the Association of Asian Studies, yeah, in which many Americans and many international scholars come. So what I would like to hear from you, how do you keep productive in, like, for example, I know that you come here to Indonesia regularly. It can be like more than once in a year, and Indonesia is very far away from America, and then you can manage that continuation. Yeah.
Well, first of all, from the point of view of being in Chicago, that was the year that Obama was elected president. Yeah. It was the next. It was the day because the meeting was at that time. But the thing is, I wished you had come up to me and said, I'm from, Nina Numila, Dr. Nina Numila from Bandung, and I'm writing on this because it would have been very interesting for me what you're doing, right? So that is what I'm saying. Don't be shy. People, whether scholars are senior or junior, and maybe that is different in different cultures. But actually, we all want the conversation. We all want to learn from each other. None of us knows everything, so it is wonderful. I feel it's wonderful to hear from younger colleagues what they're doing and learn from them. Because we all read different books, we all read different issues, right? And then on one of my slides that I had to stop was giving talks. Because remember I said showing up, part of showing up is giving talks, even in the neighborhood, I was going to say a little bit more about the type of talks. Because sometimes, when sometimes you get an unexpected invitation to give a talk about something, and you think, why? Why should I talk about this, right? But then I would say, don't say no right away. Think about it. Think about, is this something I could connect with my research? Is it something I could connect with my work? You see? Because many times you learn from it. I give you an example. Once I was contacted by a German research group who were researching the topic of guilt. Now, guilt is hard to translate into Indonesian because it's malu and it's rasa berdosa. It's different, rasa bersalah, right? It has different levels. Now, the Germans, a lot of Germans feel very guilty. Can you guess why? Yeah, the Second World War, what happened? And there's a lot of what they call intergenerational guilt. They wanted me in that project because I know, but as someone who knows Indonesia, I said, why? I don't study guilt, I'm not a psychologist. Why me? But they said, no, we want you because you know the culture, we want you to help us, with readings. And then, in the end, what was strange, we published a volume with Oxford University Press, and half of the participants, in that research network, and half of the writers were quoting things I had introduced about Indonesia. So what had happened is that the Indonesian context, you know, and the Indonesian situation and the different ideas about guilt had influenced their thinking about their specific topic, which had nothing to do with Indonesia. So that's what I'm saying. This is how I keep going. By thinking, wow, this is interesting. And even if I'm tired, yeah, I want to try what we call wrap my mind around it. Because somehow you always learn, and maybe it gives you a new idea for your research. You see? Yeah. But sometimes, of course, I must say, sometimes you have to say no when it gets too much, or, you know, but when it's interesting, when you say, wow, this can be interesting, or maybe you meet interesting people, right? So in a way, it's also a challenge to yourself to look at your own research and at your own work and get new energy in that by participating in these issues, in these panels, forums, and so on. You see? You see my point?
Yes, okay.
I think you went to the same experience when you spoke to the classes in Winston-Salem.
Thank you. Lina would like to say something, and you can prepare your questions. After that, we will give you opportunity to ask, okay? Thank you.
I want to say that actually, I think you have experienced Dr. Nelly as an excellent professor, an enthusiastic researcher, and a careful mentor. Even if she hasn't mentored anybody of you, you can feel the atmosphere of mentoring.
Now I feel very malu.
No,
this
no,
is terrible.
No, let me. So, actually, if you go to the basics of academia, it is also about the relation between the supervisor and the student. And it is about community with other students, also with other senior scholars. And if it's a good culture, the senior scholars and the supervisor will be generous, but also demanding. And they will also disclose your qualities and your weaknesses. But they will also encourage you to develop your strength and your talents to come further. And they will invite you and they will suggest, maybe they will even write an article with you, or they will suggest that you should choose a specific path to realize your talents in the field that you are educated for. And I have been so lucky to be surrounded by generous scholars who really encouraged me. Apply for PhD scholarship. I was invited to make presentations, and I thought I was not able to make, but I did my best, and then I got it revised. It was seriously discussed, and I got advice and revised and got it published. In the end, I also have been editing books and published several books. And that has been the same respectful process, and not questioning the requirement of quality. But I think this generosity and this ethics among scholars is very important. That is also your future responsibility as emerging scholars. And that, you know, to really honor and respect the relationship between the teacher and the students is not so much in the Western academia as before, but when you come out of the Western sphere, it is very much alive. But it should not be just by rote learning and being blind obedience of the teacher. The real academic relationship is also that the supervisor will learn from the students, because the student is exploring new topics. And I must say, my academic mother. She became my academic mother in the end. It has been, I'm still going to visit her. She's 85 now. And I'm still visiting her. And we have the same academic mother. And each of us are nurtured still. And we bring our new topics and it's discussed. Academia has no age limit. It's learning for life. So this beautiful, it is a beauty in this that you are now a part of. And I want to congratulate you with the graduation and welcome to this big family.
Thank you. So I would like to give opportunity for three students who would like to ask a question. If not, I would like to have comments. Okay, Maulana, I can see you. You would like to speak? Okay, please, Maulana, and then I don't remember your name. Yeah, okay, you can introduce yourself after Maulana, okay?
Ibu, I saw one of our guests.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, Lizzie, do you would like to? Yeah, I would like to give opportunity to Maulana and then you and then Lizzie. Okay, thank you. Please. Lizzie is an Australian volunteer in Indonesia who would like to help students here in terms of writing. Thank you. And research. Please,
Right.
Maulana.
So my name is Maulana. I'm from MA Batch 3 in education. My question is, in IIII we are training to be a researcher. So right now is a novice researcher, and one of the output is in the final semester we need to have a final paper that can be published in certain journal. But the question is, we have lack of resources such as time and budget. So we need to consider it, and we need to have to meet the final project in the deadline. So what is your suggest that for us that because of that, we need to limit our topic, especially for the research, because we need to meet the deadline. So what is your advice for us to have good research paper in this situation?
Okay, we'll just collect the question first.
Could I ask you to explain a little bit more? What do you mean? Is it about reaching your deadline, or the topic, or having limited resources?
Yeah,
what are all three?
Yeah. For example, if we have good budget and good time, of course we want to have good topic for research, and we want to not only doing research in the simple way. We need to have, for example, field research and etc. But because of that, we need to consider about, and we need to realistic what kind of research that we can meet until the deadline and the budget that we have, something like that.
It's up to you.
Yeah. Yeah, because actually, on the one hand, it's true. It can be very challenging, and I know in many parts of the world there's a lack of resources. That's really hard. But the fact is that the deadline, limited resources, and having a topic that maybe you do not like that much, right? This is something that happens a lot. And in a way, what helps best is try to see it as an exercise, as something to train yourself. Now, if you have limited resources, you say so. You can say in your research, I want to know this and that, but I couldn't find anything about it in my country or online, or you just acknowledge it. You say, maybe there's already a book about this,
curricula to teach how to teach. Yeah, I think a scholar also need to talk. They give a presentation, they give a speech in front of a lot of people, and I think teaching is as challenging as writing. So can you give an insight for us here? To what extent university should provide to the student program to teach the student how to teach, especially for graduate student like us. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
I think we lost our moderator. Didn't Bunina wanted to get the questions first, right? Yeah. I don't know who was next with the question.
Hi, I'm Lizzie Summerfield. I'm volunteering at the university as a research and publications mentor. I haven't really got a question. I've got a bit of a comment. Unfortunately, I wasn't here for the early bit about understanding academia, but I just wanted to make a comment about decolonisation within Western knowledge, because I think that continues to happen. I did a PhD later in life. My background is not naturally academic. The point I want to make is that Western knowledge is still in the process of decolonising itself. Until very recently, the only people who had access to universities in the West were rich white men. And it's only in the last 30 or 40 years that women and people who are not so rich have entered academia, which means it's only now, in recent times, that knowledge is broadened to include those people's experience. My point about that is to reinforce what Dr. Nelly said about picking the right journal and then being tough about receiving criticism, not being too disheartened, as she said, by receiving knockbacks, particularly if you're submitting to Western journals. Knowledge has been self-perpetuating in those Western journals according to what some people would call a blood sport of academia. It's been binary, it's been antagonistic, it's been debating. And so sometimes the criticism that you get is going to have those qualities about it. In my personal experience, I have spent a lot of time choosing the journals I want to publish in, and then when you do that, you'll likely find the criticism and critiquing that you get from your peers is of the same kind. So thank you for letting me say that.
Thank you, Lizzie. And then the last one from Nadif, please.
Thanks for the time. My name is Nadif. I'm PhD student education faculty. I so appreciate your presentations and so insightful, I think. I want to focus on some of hot issue in religious education because this is in line with my focus study. It is part of religious education issues. It's about how the religion shape or influence the world, or how the world influence or shapes the world. And in simple understanding, I want to make that the world is the globalizations or the modernity values. So how the religions shapes the modernity or vice versa. In the context of Indonesia, we have like Charles Tan, so negotiates between modernity values and traditionality values. And they commonly use anthropology's theory. For example, Eric and Benedict invented tradition and imagine communities. In some anthropologists like Eleanor, woman American anthropologists also have the theory about it, how imagine the modernity. My question is, do you have any recommendation in the new theory of anthropologists in the term of negotiation between traditional and modern values? Thank you.
Lina will answer first, please. Lina.
I can, with regard to the study of religion and social anthropological approach, I have two proposals that contains whether you study modernity or traditional modernity or postmodernity or any other topic with regard to Islam, that is to use Tal al-Assad's definition of Islam or any religion as a discursive tradition. And it is about the past, that is the reference, and it's about the future, what it says about the future, and how it implicates the present, of present practice. And that can include anything that you want to include. So I think that is a very useful, it's like a potato, you can use it for any study of religion. Because it is about meaning for the believer and belonging and commitment. So that can be used for any tradition. So that would be my proposal for you, suggestion. The second, I think, is anthropological approach to the study of Islam would be John Bowen, A New Anthropology of Islam. I found that is the best book so far, but of course other scholars would disagree with me, but I find it extremely useful and would recommend it for you.
Yeah, would you like to answer? And this will be my maybe the final comment also.
Okay. Well, coming back to your question about anthropological methodologies, right? Part of it is what you need it for. You have to also think about that. Sometimes there might be books that are not necessarily anthropological. I was thinking, as you were talking about Shahab Ahmed's What is Islam? That is, the book is highly criticized because there is no women in there. But on the other hand, Shahab Ahmed really questioned, how do we study Islam? Why do we focus only on certain topics and not on other topics? So something like that might be able to help you. But and there are more and more anthropological works in different directions that are considering certain points of religious points of view. You could even think about, for example, the very quickly developing field of medical anthropology. It might not sound somehow natural for your context, but in many ways, as educators of religion, you work with people. And medical anthropology looks at, for example, many of the psychological phenomena. And so that would be my first reaction. If you would give us a day of two, we probably would come up with a bibliography. but then I wanted to also, coming back about teaching, that is a very important remark, because when I started teaching, nobody taught us how to teach. How did you learn how to teach? By looking at really bad teachers and then looking at really good teachers and then making lists of how did they do it. And I had teachers, I had both types of teachers, but most of all, coming back to what Bolena says, the bad teachers, they were not interested in me as a person. They were not interested in us as students. They just were there like, oh, I have to teach, it's part of my job, I hate it, what are you doing here, wasting my time. So that's why I brought up teaching, that's why I made a slide about it. Because it can be part of research, and it can be very energizing, you see? Now, I would start demanding in Indonesian universities, and we have some deans here, right? that they help you with learning how to teach. You know, there's workshops, there's one-day workshops, there's online workshops, there's all kinds of workshops available that can, you know, with techniques how to teach. In my university, we actually have an office for learning and teaching, they call it. If we have trouble, you know, how do I approach this? How do I present this topic? They help us. Not everybody has that, but I think part of it is that you start to ask for it. That maybe universities, especially the bigger ones, might answer you. You see what I mean? And so, or we can also turn it around. Hey, we're in the business of creativity, all of us, right, as scholars. You could start to think about, how do I do this? Why don't I find some courses myself, and then I'm going to teach those courses myself? You see what I mean? That is how it starts. Because we all have been dealing with this issue, because as academics, we are not trained as teachers. And so it's a big issue. And it's a very important issue, because nothing is more boring than being bored while sitting in a lecture, because you have to sit there for an hour, right? And the lecturer is not bored, but you are bored, and that's hard. That's really hard work. That costs so much energy. That's why, you know, I ate a lot of chocolate when I was a student, because I was so bored. So, yeah.
And I was knitting.
And
I was knitting when we had
knitting.
a bad teacher.
No, but do think about that. Talk together. Maybe you can make a club. You know, how can we be good teachers? What is there that we can learn from? Are there classes? Are there courses? Right? Can we sign up somewhere? Ask Bunina. ask all the leaders of your department, right? And then maybe you can be a pelopor. Maybe you can be the ones who start something for the rest of Indonesia. I mean, isn't that part of UIII? To be new and innovative? So this could be one field, honestly. Then I would like to come back to, Izzy, what's your name? Lizzie, I didn't hear.
Elizabeth.
Elizabeth. Lizzie, you are so right. We are going to this workshop on decolonizing knowledge, right, later on. And one of the things I've been reading about is, for example, when you live in America, there's an entire part of the population who call themselves black and brown and yellow, who feel completely colonized by the way Americans teach. So there is this whole movement of, you know, Black American theology, Black American methodologies, and so on and so on. And one of the things I've been reading recently is, for example, psychology and counseling, because one of the issues is that white psychologists and white counselors have no idea how traumatic it is to live in a racist society, what it does to your psyche, what it does to your body, you know. So the trauma of racism, how to overcome that. Almost no university teaches that. So people who experience that trauma are starting to write about it themselves. So you are so right. We are all decolonizing, and often, this is wonderfully that you mentioned that knowledge is often in journals self-perpetuating. That's maybe something I should mention to this audience. If you write about something that might be pretty new, or something that's different from, you know, the average average writings in your field, do know you are the scholar, you are the specialist. You know more than any other of the ones reading your work. So if you come up with something new and you get weird reactions, strange critiques, sometimes you can just say, no, I don't agree with this. This is wrong because this person doesn't know how to read my work. And then you can really stand for your own work and say, this is it. I'm going to accept this, and that's it. Right. And so thank you all very much. And I wish you all really wonderful careers. And I'm looking forward to hearing from you and seeing how you will all develop. I mean, I think you are in very good hands with wonderful staff here and a great university and basically lots of opportunities, right? Provided by UIII. So thank you all for coming this morning and listening to us and being part of this event. Thank you.
I will not answering the question, but I would like to express one point again about the importance of attending professional meetings in order to present your work and then to network. Because of the networking can also lead to your productivity. I would like to give one example that in 2018 I met Leon Musafi in Yogyakarta conference, and then we exchanged email address, and then we didn't in touch so often, but Leon often give, like, for example, information about any project or any activities. And one day I read his email calling for participation in his project, and then I responded to his call, and then we applied to the British Academy, and then in around March or April we got announcement that our proposal was accepted. So that's I think one of the example from one leading to another, that when you present your paper, you meet people, and then you can have another project. And I can see also from Professor Nelly and then Dr. Lina, they both together being very productive and to have the project every year to come to Indonesia and publishing a lot from their projects. I think I would like to thank Professor Dr. Nelly van der Harder and Dr. Lina Larsen for sharing their knowledge and experiences. Thank you very much for coming. And we would like to have a token of appreciation, but before that, I would like to close the session by reading Hamdalah. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Applause for our two keynote speakers.
Thank you, Professor Nelly and Professor Nina. Thank you so much, Prof.
Please proceed here in front.
Yeah.